Hey there, America. Let's talk about debt, baby. Not the kind you rack up buying that sweet new TV during Black Friday. No, we're talking about the big leagues, the kind with more zeros than a Kim Kardashian perfume launch, the national debt. Right now, it's like our country went on a shopping spree with a credit card that has no limit, except there is a limit and we're dangerously close to hitting it. This isn't just some abstract number. It affects everything from the roads we drive on to the schools our kids go to. When the debt gets too big, it's like a giant sucking sound on the economy. Interest rates go up, making it harder for folks to buy homes or start businesses. The value of the dollar can drop, making everything we buy from overseas more expensive. It's a recipe for economic heartburn, and frankly, we've been overeating for decades. So, what's the solution? Well, it's not as simple as cutting up the national credit card, but it does involve making some tough choices about how we spend our money and how we can get our financial house back in order. Stick around because things are about to get real, fiscally speaking. You see, this isn't the first time we faced a financial crunch. History is full of lessons if we care to look. From the Great Depression to the 2008 financial crisis, we've seen how poor financial management can lead to disaster. But we've also seen how resilience and smart planning can pull us back from the brink. It's not just about cutting spending, it's about making strategic investments that pay off in the long run. Think renewable energy, technology, and education. These are areas where spending now can lead to savings and growth later. Local communities can also play a role by supporting small businesses and community projects that create jobs and stimulate the economy. And let's not forget the power of civic engagement. Voting for leaders who prioritize fiscal responsibility can make a huge difference. It's going to take a collective effort from policymakers to everyday citizens to navigate this financial maze. But if there's one thing America is known for, it's our ability to come together and tackle big challenges head on. After all, the decisions we make today will shape the world our children inherit tomorrow. So let's get smart about our spending, invest wisely, and ensure a prosperous future for generations to come. Because when it comes to our national debt, it's time to get serious and make some changes. Together, we can do this. Stay tuned, America. The journey to financial stability starts now. Remember when gas station signs only had 3 digits? Those were the days when filling up your tank didn't feel like taking out a second mortgage, and people thought $4 a gallon was outrageous. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Now it feels like we're playing a game of how high can it go every time we pull up to the pump. These days, everything seems to cost an arm and a leg, and it's not just the big ticket items. Everyday essentials are draining our wallets faster than we can fill them, and not even the good kind of arm and leg, like from a championship winning hot dog eating contest. It's more like the kind that leaves you wondering if you should start growing your own food. Housing costs have gone through the roof, and it's not just in the big cities. Suburbs and small towns are feeling the pinch too, making it feel like the American dream of owning a home is about as attainable as a unicorn riding a rocket ship to Mars. For many, renting is the only option, and even that is becoming increasingly unaffordable. Groceries? Don't even get me started. The cost of feeding a family has skyrocketed, and it's not just luxury items that are affected. A dozen eggs cost more than a college textbook these days, and that's saying something. Remember when eggs were the go-to affordable protein? Not anymore. And good luck finding a decent avocado for less than your left kidney. It's almost as if avocados have become a status symbol rather than a simple fruit. This isn't just about tightening our belts a notch or two. It's about making tough choices every single day. This is about families struggling to put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. It's about parents skipping meals so their kids can eat. It's about the relentless pressure on working folks who are doing everything right but still falling behind. They're working longer hours, taking on second jobs, and still can't make ends meet. It's time to address the root causes of this cost of living crisis and find some real solutions. We need policies that support working families, not just the wealthy. Because frankly, America deserves better than ramen noodles for dinner every night. We deserve a future where everyone can afford to live comfortably, where the American dream is within reach for all. Maybe it's time to look at alternative solutions like community gardens and local co ops to help ease the burden. Every little bit helps. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. And that means making sure everyone has a fair shot at a good life. Let's work together to create a future where we can all enjoy the simple pleasures without breaking the bank. A future where the cost of living doesn't overshadow the joy of living. You know that feeling when you check your bank account after a weekend of questionable decisions? Maybe you went out with friends, had a few too many drinks, and splurged on that late night takeout. The next morning you wake up, check your balance, and suddenly reality hits you like a ton of bricks. Yeah, that's kind of where the US government is at right now. But instead of regretting a few too many drinks, it's grappling with the consequences of years of financial decisions that have led to a staggering national debt. Except instead of regretting that third tequila shot, it's about trillions of dollars in debt. Imagine the weight of that on your shoulders. It's not just a personal financial hiccup, it's a colossal economic challenge that affects every single citizen. So, how do we fix it? Well, some folks say it's time for a good old fashioned balanced budget amendment. This idea has been floating around for decades, and it essentially means that the government would be required to balance its budget every year, just like many households try to do. Basically, it's like forcing the government to live within its means, just like regular folks have to do every single day. You know the drill. You can't spend more than you earn, or you'll end up in a financial mess. Sounds simple, right? Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. Balancing a national budget isn't as straightforward as balancing your checkbook. There are countless variables, from fluctuating tax revenues to unexpected expenses, that make it a daunting task. See, a balanced budget means that the government can't spend more than it takes in through taxes. This principle is easy to understand but challenging to implement, especially when you consider the diverse needs and priorities of a nation. This sounds great in theory, but it also means that during tough times, like, a global pandemic or a major recession, the government might not have the flexibility to borrow money to help struggling families and businesses. Imagine if, during the height of the pandemic, the government couldn't provide stimulus checks or support small businesses. The economic fallout could have been even more devastating. It's a tough balancing act. On one hand, we need to get our spending under control. We can't keep piling on debt and expect future generations to bear the burden. On the other hand, we need a government that can respond to crises and invest in things like education, infrastructure, and the occasional scientific breakthrough that doesn't involve making a better tasting kale chip. So, what's the solution? It's not an easy one, and it requires a delicate balance of fiscal responsibility and strategic investment. We need to have honest conversations about our priorities and make tough choices about where to allocate resources. It's about finding that sweet spot where we can live within our means while still investing in a brighter future for all. And maybe, just maybe, we can all get along and spend responsibly. Let's talk about everyone's favorite subject, taxes. Okay, Maybe not everyone's favorite, but definitely something we need to talk about. The US tax code is more complicated than a Christopher Nolan movie plot, and it's about as much fun to figure out. One of the biggest problems is that our tax system is riddled with loopholes, like those giant inflatable rats union workers use to protest bad bosses. These loopholes allow corporations and wealthy individuals to avoid paying their fair share, while the rest of us are stuck footing the bill. We need tax reform that closes these loopholes and ensures that everyone pays their fair share. Some folks talk about a progressive tax system where the more you earn, the higher percentage you pay in taxes. Others want to simplify the tax code so much that even a sea cucumber could understand it. Whatever the solution, one thing's for sure: we need a tax system that's fair, efficient, and actually raises enough revenue to fund the government's essential services. Otherwise, we're all just screwed.